Hockey's back, baby. Let's go.
I think that's the goal there, to be honest. That hockey was phenomenal. All right, Phil Kessel is a Stanley Cup champion once again. Woo! Hey, Bruce, there it is. Bruce, there it was. At least it wasn't Adam Fox.
It's two juggernauts just colliding with each other. What? Weird. Now we have to deal with another generational talent in Chicago. Root. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Puck and Stuff podcast. I am here always with my boy, my co-host B-Dog, or T-Dog over here. I'm sorry, I am B-Dog. And welcome to Free Agency Frenzy. We've obviously been through watching the last 4 days of the NHL and seeing what has been happening with all the signings in the league. And it's been absolute chaos. That's why we love Free Agency Frenzy. T-Dog, how are you doing today? And yeah.
Well, I am good. I mean, but you know who's better than me right now is anyone getting that payday. Money going around. In fact, the first day, July 1st, well, for everything. Belated happy Canada Day and 4th of July to everyone out there. Hope you guys are enjoying it. Stay safe out there. Enjoy the fireworks. And remember, so, going into this, day one, 190 signings. Total contract years, 399, almost 400. Now, contract dollars in total, $1.2 billion. Just gave out. Just like the government, just giving out money. You know what I mean?
I will start it off. Oh, boy. So, I'm obviously going to start it off with, I'm going to say best for last, but I'm going to start off with Boston. So, we obviously known that Boston was struggling very much forward, aka center depth-wise. And that was an issue probably going into the playoffs this year, right? We actually do start off with the centerman, Elias Lindholm, getting signed a $7.75 to the Boston Bruins for 7 years. So, that's already a big impact. I did actually, funny enough, predict that Elias Lindholm would go to Boston because that looked like one of the best options for them. So instantly, big win for them, signing a center like that. And then they add to the defensive core, adding Zadorov. And now Zadorov is the big Z, I guess, of Boston. If you actually saw the interviews, he said he hates that you can call him that. So if I were you, I wouldn't. $5 million for 5 years. Definitely good. A little bit much for Zadorov, in my opinion, but what Boston's going for is a push.
I'll put my 2 cents into this one. They did need Lindholm. I'm glad I'm not paying that contract, but they need a center. Boston still had a great season, even with what we all expected, but you can't hurt with adding a player like Lindholm. You can't. Didn't have the greatest regular season with both the Flames and the Canucks, so maybe a change of scenery will help there. But playoff time, he did redeem himself. See if you can kind of take that into next season. Zadorov's not a terrible spot to have on your back end. Sometimes can be a liability, so I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think paying $5 million a year for Zadorov is a lot? I mean, 6 years can be something. I guess he did want a little bit of long-term longevity. $5 million,
Zadorov is
I don't know. Boston, are they winners? I mean, they did a little, but things that they needed, somewhat winners. I guess you could put him in there. To me, it's just you'll see. And I think this is just because, this is recency bias for me. It's that they're not difference makers. They're additions, but they aren't difference makers.
One thing they should do also is sign Swayman. They need to sign Swayman very soon because that will determine if they're true winners. But since just adding those kind of players to this makes them winners, in my opinion, like you're right, Zadorov's contract's kind of gross when you really think about what he does on the ice. But you know what? Sometimes you got to take risks, and I think Boston did that for sure. So
I kind of almost want to just go alphabetical. I'll make it quick, and then I'll talk about winners actually. But quickly, Anaheim, nothing too crazy. Robbie Fabry and Brian Dumoulin through a trade, but with Seattle. Little bit of support on your bottom pair and your bottom six. Anaheim, they know where they are. They're just kind of playing to get the experience with all the young guys. But drafting Seneca is not too bad. We're to Boston. Buffalo, notables, Jason Zucker and Nick Aubé-Kubel, so just a little more depth. Buffalo's in that kind of weird spot. I hope they make the playoffs. Carolina, you lose some players, man. You lose Pesci. That's a tough one. But you re-sign Slavin at a good deal, too. Great price. As well, too, re-sign Martin Hook. Sean Walker signed. Ghost Sphere comes back and get an William Carrier, not an Alexander Carrier. Hey, winners. I mean, you lose Gensel, too. I don't know.
We even talked about too that they were going to have a rough free agency because how many players they had to sign, and also how many players they were going to lose. They did lose a lot of players, so how it basically went by the end is not as bad as I thought they would be. Because adding Sean Walker in there is still not bad. Chatfield's not terrible. Colglian is not bad. I mean, it hurts. It definitely hurts. Then they still have to deal with Marnatius as well, which isn't.
That's right. That can still happen. But yeah, I think it's a good pickup in Sean Walker and getting Ghost Sphere back here is good for that depth.
Yeah.
Carolina's in a weird spot where I think right now the fans are over exaggerating and thinking the world is ending. I think they're still competitive. But this is what you get new management. Things are going to change. And what they are, I think, a middle. I don't think they lost because things were going to happen. It was inevitable. But they didn't lose. They could have been much worse. It could have been much worse. So I think they're a middle ranking for this one.
Middle of the pack.
I think Chicago wins, though. Signing Tyler Bertuzzi, signing Alec Martinez, Teuvo Teravainen. Carolina also lost. TJ Brody. I forgot about that. And I say they win in the sense that, look, you're not competitive. You're still going to be a bottom feeder, but you're getting some help there for Bedard. A little bit more learning experience. And hey, do you think Levshinov comes in this season? He could. It's a possibility.
He potentially could, but you know what? You are on the right page, in my opinion. I think that Chicago is a winner because you obviously brought some winger depth that can play around Bedard, especially with Tyler Bertuzzi, and I think Teravainen as well. I mean, the team obviously is still looking like a rebuilding, retool team, but adding these kind of additions helps. I mean, not TJ Brody, but those addition wingers help, I think, 100%. But maybe Chicago's still a bottom feeder for another year or two, but still, I think this was a winning free agency for them.
I mean, looking at this, Chicago might make playoffs faster than Detroit and Ottawa.
Ooh,
I saw a comment on that. I thought it was pretty funny. Keep on going. Colorado re-signed Jonathan Drouin, signed Calvin DeHaan, and Eric Remstrom. Don't know if it's too much, but they did what they needed to do. And, Colorado's still going to be a competitor. They're still some sort of a cup favorite. Keep it where they are. See if they make any more deals in this offseason. But I think what they are is perfect. So I'm not going to say complete winner. But this next one's a loser. Blue Jackets. They re-signed Jack Johnson. Not bad, but it's just that Monahan deal. 5 for 5.5. I get it. Like, you want Gaudreau to get a little bit of spark going.
Gaudreau got his buddy back. Sean Monahan for 5.5 for 5 years. Yay! The duo's back. Maybe that'll give Gaudreau some spark to do something.
I mean, good for them. It's just he's injury prone. Like, I love Monahan, but it just doesn't seem too much of the best. I get it, though. I mean, okay, as Flames fans, would you pay the Piper to get Barkov so Huberdeau could come back? Yes, you would. That's a little different because Barkov is a top player in the NHL.
I think with Columbus, though, yeah, they're kind of a loser. Yeah, they did sign Sean Monahan, but you're right, he's a bit injury prone. It's such a weird spot. Like, they obviously have been tanking for the last few seasons, had a top 3 pick last year, had a top 4 pick this year, and, like, there's no up with them yet. So it's kind of disappointing, but yeah, they haven't done much in the offseason to really jump at me.
Dallas, Niels Lundqvist getting not a deal before the deadline and then gets a deal. They get Casey DeSmith for their backup. Matt Duchene's re-signed, Matt Dumba, and Ilya Lyubushkin. I think it's tough to lose Tanev. It's funny to me because, like, that money that was given to him, I mean, Dallas probably could have paid him, but instead, they paid that money and got guys like, I don't know how I feel about Dumba much anymore. I think he's definitely his role is decreased a little different from what he used to be when he was younger. But I can see Lyubushkin, Lundqvist, so that from the D. But I mean, man, like Tanev a warrior, you kind of need that.
Yeah. I think we especially saw that in Tanev during the playoffs, but I think the trade just told it that they saw what Tanev wanted, but they were like, no, thank you. So they traded him off, and then Toronto signs him, which we'll get into later. But I think realistically, yes, they cleared the cap space, but do I feel comfortable they used over $6 million on Matt Dumba and Lyubushkin? No, not really. I think there was a lot more better defensemen they could have grabbed in free agency to bulk up the depth defensively. But no, I mean, I didn't like it. That's why I actually had him as a loser in this one. But I mean, signing Matt Duchene for only $3 million for another year was really nice in my opinion. But I didn't like the defensive additions to this team. That's what kind of made me feel like they're a loser.
Yeah,
I think I would have paid Chris Tanev. I would have paid Chris Tanev.
More names, but I don't know if they play the role that you want. Detroit, Cam Talbot, Eric Gustafson, Christian Fischer, notables, Joe Snively, which I'm surprised that Washington didn't keep a Tyler Mott, and Vladimir Tarasenko with an event with Patrick Kane too. You could call him a winner there. You know what? Tarasenko going to get a little bit more money because of that cup, right? To put on the resume. Is this the year that Detroit finally makes it? On paper, potentially. I hope so. I don't know though. It's a tough one.
I don't know, man. So I was kind of looking at it, and I actually did have Detroit kind of as a loser because you obviously saw throughout some of the moves that they made, they were trying to gain a lot of cap space and trying to make a big move. But did they make a big move? Not really. Cam Talbot is good, but is there a chance that he pulls what he did in LA from last year? If he does, yes, I think they do make playoffs, but it's a little rough and a little rocky there, in my opinion, for free agent signings. But, I mean, they still have to sign Seider.
Detroit is in a very odd position with goalies because you still have Ville Husso, you have Cam Talbot, you got Alex Lyon and Jack Campbell. So I wonder, does Lyon go down? Yeah, potentially. And yeah, you're right. Like you haven't signed Seider. I mean, they'll get these done. Like Lucas Raymond too. They got some time, but get it done as quick as you can. I do hope that this kind of helps this team get going because I really want them to make playoffs. I think the league is better when Detroit that happens.
In the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, you look at Detroit's top six, it doesn't look bad. Larkin, DeBrincat, technically, once they sign Lucas Raymond, he's in there. Andrew Kopp, Vladimir Tarasenko now, Patrick Kane. That's a solid top six. I don't know, man. Based on how Detroit has been in the last few seasons, it's kind of rocky, and I think they need to do more until the end of the offseason to really say they're a winner. But right now they're a loser. But I'm also saying at the same time, I think this team will make a jump soon. So it's very conflicting for me.
Let's go to a winner. Edmonton, my opinion, they win this one. I mean, you re-sign Connor Brown after that playoff. We'll see what he is in the regular season. Pretty easy 1 year, $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2 years, $1 million. I'll have to double check on that one. Calvin Pickers re-signed. You got to keep the goalie tandem when you make the finals. I don't get it. I don't blame you. Defenseman and Josh Brown. So you lose Vincent Desharnais, and then you get another tall, big body with Josh Brown there. Corey Perry's re-signed, same with Adam Henrique and Matthias Janmark. So like that bottom pairing, that was killing everyone with the penalty kill. Like some of these players are on there, are back. On paper, this is a win, man. Like I can't hate it. Like this is, I think this team on paper is better than the finals team that they just ran a week ago. I'm not joking.
Yeah, I think, you know what, surprisingly, I think you're right in this. Obviously, Edmonton's biggest factors, were to sign depth players that made a huge factor in the playoffs, especially the finals that you saw Connor Brown and yeah, Mark, make that difference, right? So then you see Buffalo buy out Jeff Skinner, and then right after Edmonton buys him out. I think that's a great addition for the winger depth for sure. And you also take that with Arvidsson. I think 100%. That was a low key steal, in my opinion, because he's like a 40 to 50 point player per season. And adding that into the mix with McDavid and the Oilers are great. I think even the additions, like defensive wise, are even pretty good. I mean, everyone would love to get rid of Nurse, but you also did the big thing too of getting rid of Jack Campbell. You bought him out, so
Yeah, that was
that was
necessity.
needed. That was very much needed. So I hate to say it, but you won, but you're not going to win anything because you re-signed Corey Perry. So
Well, Jeff Skinner's never made playoffs in any of his pro career. So
holy shit!
yeah, apparently not even juniors too. So maybe the two negatives equal out. That makes sense actually. Two curses to a blessing. Florida, I think they're losers. Now it's not that they kind of had it coming because when you win a cup, it's hard to resign, right? Like you're already capped out. So you lose some players, right? Fair enough. So just because of that, you lose, but you do, win in re-signing an Anton Lundell, who the hockey guy says is a Barkov Jr. So it's pretty good. Lundell's a great player. Dmitry Kulikov, right? Re-sign him. No sec.
You're forgetting the biggest name. Sam Reinhart got
Oh,
signed
of course,
too.
Reinhardt got re-signed, and McKenzie and Whistle. So you know what? Like, actually, pretty darn good for what was needed, but lose some depth, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's unfortunate. So they're not a crazy loser, but I think they're just losers by proxy because with the cap area, you can't keep your team. But not
they're
saying
the
it's
biggest.
bad.
I mean, realistically, they're the biggest winner out of everyone because they're just celebrating all summer with the cup. So,
Yeah, that
Sam,
roster
Sam
crazy.
Reinhart, Sam Reinhart got the cup in one hand and signing that big old extension with the other. So
He's like all silent with his teeth. He's like,
no, but you know what? You're right. Free agents wise and additions, Florida didn't really win. But I think like the biggest factors from the Cup run were signed, and I think that mattered the most in Florida's eyes. And plus, you couldn't really sign some of those players, which we're going to talk about down the line, because they even had the Stanley Cup bonus of, hey, I want a Stanley Cup, I want more money. And you notice that with some of the team signings where we're all like, that player doesn't really deserve it, but he just won a
they're
cup.
like, no, no, you don't know.
I
You're
don't
like,
know about
yeah,
that.
I get it, right? Cup wins make pay the bills, right? And
Yep.
for the Ferrari payments. The thing is what? Oh, Florida, yeah. So Reinhardt, I legit thought the dude was gonna get an actual overpay. The fact that he got signed for under 10 million a year is kind of crazy. I mean, he probably gave a little bit of a discount because you win and you want to stay with the winning culture and the team. I legit thought this dude was going to get like 11 mil. I'm not joking. Like, I actually thought he was going to be that overpriced. So to get him under 10 is like.
I think it's funny too because actually most reporters were saying he's looking like a 10 to $11 million player,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
forgetting just under 9's really good.
yeah. I think they might be taking. I bet you Florida takes the Boston approach here. People
Yeah.
taking a cut, and I like that. And you know what? You make more money anyways because state free tax and stuff. And Los Angeles, I'm neutral with this. So Edmondson, Joel Edmondson, they signed Warren Fogle from Edmonton, who was from Edmonton, sorry. In a trade, they get Darcy Kemper from Washington, so better goalie situation. Tanner Jeannot comes over. Biggest thing for me is they lose that Pierre-Luc Dubois. That's the biggest thing for me.
Realistically, was it really a loss? But
no, that makes it a win in my books, man.
Oh, yeah, that makes it a win. LA's pretty neutral in my opinion, but they lean a little bit to the winner side because if you think about it, they upgraded their goaltending with Darcy Kemper. I think that's still a win in their own books because how their goaltending was coming from round one. I think it technically is an upgrade. I mean, Tanner Jeannot is not a terrible player. He hasn't performed that well with Tampa, so new environment, new structure could maybe change how he plays, but it's pretty neutral, man. It's nothing like no big win, no big loss in that sense.
Yeah, so also players like Carl Grundstrom and stuff, like you lose, and I guess
Yeah.
Arvidsson too, right? So Minnesota, nothing too crazy. Resign Yakov Trenin, Jake Middleton too, so that's not too bad. That's a win, but I don't know if it's a complete win. Montreal, nothing too crazy. It is a win to resign Uri Slavkovsky. Especially this latter half of the season, he's starting to actually come to form. So nothing too crazy, but nothing like this next team. Guys right here, Nashville, biggest winners for sure. Backup and Scott Wedgwood. You re-sign Alexander Carrier, good depth on D. Jonathan Marchessault, so a little pricey, not gonna lie. But you've signed Vinny Hinostroza, get Brady Shea for a 7x7. Steven Stamkos too. Imagine Nashville with this sort of roster 7 years ago, like a prime Ryan O'Reilly, a prime Steven Stamkos, a prime Johnny Marchessault's pretty. But,
Norris winner, Roman Yossi, Saros playing the way he is. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a win, man. I mean, a lot of money, but they got the money to spend, and you take your team from here to here. You look at Vancouver. Vancouver beat them, and I think they're like, wow, we're missing some X factors, and they went out and got X factors. I mean, like 3 of them. So yeah,
this offseason, Barry Trotz really just threw his big old balls right on the table and said, "Here, I'm signing these guys."
Yeah.
No, but honestly, holy shiza, Barry Trotz,
and re-sign Saros. I forgot that.
Yeah, Barry Trotz, you absolute lad. You made Nashville look like an actual scary kind of cup contender, which they'll probably get like either second round exit next year because of bad chemistry problems or something. But no, you know what? I would still call them the true winners of the first 4 days of free agency. The only problem I realistically have with this is Brady Shea 7x7. He's 30 years old, so the contract ends 37, just turning 38. I mean, for how he's played in the last 3 seasons, he's had just about 40 points and a good plus minus. Yeah, it's nice, but with how many other big contracts you have with this team, that's definitely going to turn into an issue, I would say 3 to 4 years down the line with Nashville. But other than that, I think this is spectacular. Jonathan Marchessault, beautiful contract. Was it 5.5 for 5 years? Steven Stamkos, the power play merchant we all call him nowadays, $8 million for 4 years. When we talk about Tampa, it's going to be kind of funny with that kind of contract, but still, I think it was a great win. I think Nashville did exactly what they needed to, but no one expected that from
them. No, I didn't think that they were going to go splash him. I'm pretty sure Trotz mentioned something about it before, but yeah, more competition. The Central is getting pretty competitive, so New Jersey. Okay, so I think this all depends. This team, man, it determines if one, goaltending is good, and 2, that Dougie Hamilton is back and healthy.
Yeah.
But you get Brett Pesce, man, and Stefan Nathan resign, Brendan Dillon, Thomas Tatar resign, and Paul Cotter through that Akira Schmid trade.
So if I could actually drop some thoughts about New Jersey into this, is I think realistically New Jersey's a winner. And that is based on the 2 key factors I think were a problem with New Jersey this whole season was goaltending and defense. I would definitely say Dougie Hamilton being injured was a big factor of that. But now you add a guy like Brett Pesce that gives a little bit of relief off the young guys to a veteran, and that is amazing. I think that's a great addition for that team. Same with kind of Brendan Dillon in that sense. And you guys added Markstrom from a trade from Calgary. Thank you for that, by the way. We appreciate the first round pick. We really do. But I think realistically, Sheldon Keefe has something to work with way better than he did in Toronto now. Because now there's a solid goaltender in net. There's a solid defensive core around the superstars that can produce offense. I think that Sheldon Keefe has found a gold mine right now. So I'm going to give him a good old thumbs up for that one.
Yep, good on for Tommy F. Next up, Islanders. So notables, nothing too crazy, but Mike Riley. I mean, they did get Cole Eiserman in the draft, so that's a steal. Mike Riley and Anthony Duclair, and this surprises me because I didn't think that Lamoriello wanted to pick up players who actually had some sort of scoring potential. So good on you, Lamorello, for doing something a little different this year. I don't try to hate on the Islanders. It's just they don't do anything to like get over that hump.
They're so
They're
mediocre.
like Minnesota, Columbus, Islanders, mucky middle. I mean,
Yeah.
it's coming from a Flames fan, so
You're right, mediocre. Didn't do a whole lot. Adding Anthony Duclair to this definitely helps if they're trying to make a playoff push still, I guess, because it's kind of funny to look at the Islanders and think that they're a playoff pushing team right now. So you don't expect it. They're probably just going to get first round exited, but adding veteranship like Anthony Duclair is a start.
yeah,
That's all I
yeah, it helps with them. I don't. Rangers didn't do too much. In that Ottawa trade, they got Mark Kastelik, and through a Penguins trade, Riley Smith. Casey Fitzgerald. Yeah, nothing too crazy with New York, but we'll see what they kind of do.
One thing I can add about New York is there's a lot of rumors going on about Jacob Trouba to potentially going to Detroit.
Correct.
That's what I heard the most. I don't know if anything. I'm not. Nothing's been confirmed yet, as I am aware. So I think that's the big move. I would say New York's pretty neutral, depending on how that trade goes. So I'll keep them at neutral. No winner or loser.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I think it depends. I don't know if you will, because of just personal circumstances. Trade will happen eventually. But yeah, pretty neutral. Nothing too crazy. I mean, your team's already cup contenders, so just keep going. Ottawa. You know what? I think when you're signing some depth, Noah Gregor, Michael Amadio, I like Amadio. David Perron, you signed Shane Pinto. In the trade, Jan Yannick and Linus Ullmark. In that Boston trade, I kind of have to call him a winner. So they're really banking on the hope that the guys on the system already take that extra step. That Brady Tkachuk isn't just a captain, but even has even more goal-scoring ability. Tim Stützle becomes a power forward. Is that what he's supposed to be?
No, I think he's more like a playmaker in my
playmaker, maybe, but more or less in that sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, you like that to happen. So we'll see, right? Maybe some steps up a little bit by Norris and some of those forwards. Defense, I think getting rid of Chychrun is better. I think Chychrun, I think Sens fans were saying he was very inconsistent, so I don't think they complained too much about getting rid of him.
Yeah.
Some cap space too, right? So I think Ottawa's a winner in my books. I'll be honest. I think a little bit of depth ain't too shabby, and I think re-signing Pinto is important. Yannick likes to fight, so that's good. I don't really got much to say about Ottawa. They're also in that mucky middle. I mean, like, if everything works out with player performance, like they could make playoffs, but that depends. And Ullmark, man, let's see what he does for a season.
I mean, yeah, I think Ottawa has been kind of mucky middle, top 10 pick for the last few years, where they obviously have an expectation from their fans to be a contender. And again, I think this could potentially happen soon, but I don't think it's going to be next year or the year after. It could be 3 years from now when they make that jump. But you're right. You need those top players like Stützle, Tkachuk, and I say Batherson to really step up and play that role that they're supposed to. First line players. And obviously for the last few seasons, they're not. You're right about Chychrun. I think it was time to move on from him. And same with Korpisalo. You bring in Ullmark. Now I think they're just praying that Ullmark shows a Vezina caliber goaltender like he did 2 seasons ago and basically puts the workload on his back to drag these guys to a playoff run. Because out of all the goalies in league still that could do that, I could see Ullmark doing it, especially with a team like Ottawa. Because, I mean, Thomas Chabot, Jake Sanderson isn't bad defensemen, but you could see that the workload will depend mostly on Ullmark with Ottawa. And yeah, it's kind of hard to say. They're really mucked. They're really mucked in the middle right now.
Yeah, they're in a very weird position, but I just hope that they can find something with it. But
we'll see.
Philly's next. In signing Eric Johnson, Garnet Hathaway, Bobby Brink. That's a great signing. And then getting that entry level for Matvei Michkov. So I think you win with that Bobby Brink and that Michkov signing. I think that's a win. That's a win. Philly's also close too. So that's also a plus for them.
I mean, the collapse of Carter Hart last season definitely hurt Philly, I think, a little bit more than they think it did. So, me, I'm kind of surprised they didn't go for a goaltender in free agency, but I kind of respect them keeping with what they have, and I think they think John Tortorella could obviously do something with this team. I mean, addition's not too bad. I think Philly, I wouldn't be surprised if Philly just sits outside of a playoff spot again, but they're really middle. They have the young additions. We heard Mitchkov's coming over. He signed the entry deal. They're good now. Jamie Drysdale still has a lot to prove as a young defenseman. He could be the top man defenseman with that team, but it's all going to say in time. They also did re-sign Bobby Brink which I think is a big need for them to sign, but overall, just pretty
Yeah,
neutral. They need
but
to do a lot more to surprise me.
they're in a better situation than what Ottawa is in the sense that I think their young players' upside has shown more potential than what has been promised or closer to maybe
Yeah.
the goalpost. And so that's really good to see. Pittsburgh signed Matt Grzelcyk, Blake Lizotte, Eric Bemstrom, Anthony Beauvillier, the defenseman in Sebastian Aho, not the other one,
Oh,
and
good.
Kevin Hayes. Not bad. Pittsburgh's in, I don't know, they're in limbo until Crosby retires.
Damn,
I don't know what to
damn,
say on
Kyle
that.
Dubas, what are you doing there, you silly goose? You're
I don't
not
know what
helping
to
this
say.
team that much at all.
Yeah, I don't know what to
Yeah,
say,
I
man.
think I think Pittsburgh's pretty neutral to loser in this scenario. I mean, Kevin Haynes is a nice veteran guy that you can add as a centerman in the lineup, but still, I don't think it's enough really to help Crosby get to a playoff again. But who knows? It's Sidney Crosby after all. He's one of the best players in the world, so we'll see
And
what happens there.
Riley
I guess.
Smith didn't work out, unfortunately, so they traded him. And they're just in a weird spot, man. We'll see what happens with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm
We'll see
not
what happens.
impressed by Pittsburgh
Tampa's
anymore.
slowly going to become Pittsburgh. So we'll see
Oh
how
my
that
god,
goes.
it's gonna be so sad.
San Jose, I think they win. They become more competitive. Sign Lucas Carlson, Tyler Toffoli, Alex Wenberg, Carl Grunstrom, Jake Wallman in a trade with Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course Celebrini.
Yeah,
That
that was
is
their big win of the offseason so
and
far.
Ty Delangio too, which I was hoping the Flames would get. San Jose is much more competitive. I don't know what they'll do, but hey, if you got Celebrini, so now it's time to just kind of build upon the rebuild.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think your biggest win was Celebrini. That's why I think you're a winner. And adding him with Will Smith, and that makes a deadly two lineup of centermen right there for your future. So I think San Jose will definitely be more entertaining for that aspect. Adding Tyler Toffoli was kind of unexpected, but hey, maybe Tyler Toffoli just wants a warm beach instead of a Canadian city. So that's a fair enough for him. He deserves
Well,
that.
fair enough. I think Seattle. I think Seattle's a winner.
Ooh.
Depth player and Josh Mahura from Florida get that signed. Chandler Stevenson, little bit of term there that people aren't liking, and $6 million. Yeah, that could be some downside, but I think he's a good centerman. And he makes players around him better. Brandon Montour and Maxime Lajoie. So Seattle's roster right now isn't looking too shabby. So that's why I think they win. Because if you look at that top six right now for Seattle, it's decently deep. Everly, Beniers, McCann, Schwartz, Stevenson, Burakovsky go down to that third line. It's Ellie Tolvanen, Yanni Gordon, Oliver Bjorkstrand, with fourth line potentially Shane Wright coming up. Same with Ty Kirche and a Brandon Tanev. And that defense not looking too shabby too. When you got an Adam Larson who's great at stay at home, Vince Dunn too, Jimmy Alexiak, Brandon Montour, Riker Evans, and William Borgren.
Yeah.
Goalies, Grubauer, but yeah, I think helps out with some depth. I think Seattle's looking a little more feisty.
Yeah, it's kind of funny with Seattle because if we think the year prior, they were beating the first round, they were beating Colorado in the first round as they were defending champs, and everyone was kind of jaw dropped to see that realistically happen. And then they kind of had a drop off this season and had the seventh overall pick, and I believe they picked up Sam Dickerson, which made me kind of angry. Or I might have to. Anyways, cut that part out. No, I think what I'm trying to get at, Seattle basically took kind of a drop off this season and went to a top 10 pick. And now they're back in the kind of mix in this offseason of do we really want to try making that contention what we did the year prior, or do we want to sit back and get some more prospects to build up a pool? Because I mean, I think Chandler Stephanen kind of just told that whole story of now they're trying to push and add some veteran leadership to that lineup, and it was good. I think Brandon Montour too was a really good signing for them because I don't think he was staying with Florida. I think he was moving, but Seattle gave him enough money and a lot. Oh my god, I can't talk. I think they gave him a lot more money and a lot more years than I think Florida ever could. So obviously, two great additions for Seattle to potentially be a runner-up in the Pacific is really good. I mean, goaltending's scary, and hopefully Shane Wright actually develops and comes into the lineup for them.
Well, on paper, I think this, shows that this team is playoff potential. But man, I wonder how Vegas feels losing Stevenson. I really think starting to lose key guys in Marchessault, Stevenson.
It's going to hurt
Vegas,
the loss,
just the way that they deal with the cap situation. A little bit. I mean, we'll see what happens when they, pick up some superstar and the trade deadline in March. Tampa Bay, man, here we go. Zegmas Girgensson, so he leaves Buffalo. 10-year tenure in Buffalo, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Girgenson's Zegmas Girgensons. I love that name. Victor Hedman, they re-signed. Cam Atkinson, Ryan McDonough, Jake Gensel. Man, what a slap in the face of Stammer, though. I feel bad.
Well, definitely. So I think my first thoughts on Tampa with the whole Steven Stamkos thing is it's a little bit cheeky. You definitely kind of did that to your all-time captain and Steven Stamkos. He's won cups with you. You drafted him. That definitely is a little bit cutthroat. And the first thing I meant to kind of looked at it when Tampa did this was Vegas. They're as cutthroat as Vegas. And I'm like, well, you know what? Vegas won a cup out of it. And now if Tampa is aggressive enough, I can't believe they did that. That's so unexpected to just kind of cutthroat Stammer like that. But yeah, I think, again, realistically, Tampa didn't do terrible. They got Jake Gensel out of it. They extended him long term. So if you're really thinking about it, it is a nice acquisition to replace Stammer. Because obviously, I think that's good. I think it's funny they gave the same money that Stamkos got in free agency to Hedman. I thought that was funny. I think they're going to make Hedman captain soon. I would not be shocked by that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's an addition. It's a few. I didn't like that they got rid of Sergachev, though. I don't know what made them want to do that, but that's concerning. They traded him to Utah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, Sergachev injury history, Stamkos injury history. So maybe that's a big factor.
Yeah, but being cutthroat like that, damn. I mean, Mosi.
Gensel's younger than Stammer. Is he better? I don't know. But Gensel's a prime piece. I mean, like, slawing him wherever. Like, we'll see what Tampa Bay's like.
Yeah.
But almost I feel in the emotional response is that a little bit of karma for treating your captain like that. But this never happens to Vegas, so we'll see. I'm intrigued to see what Tampa does. I think they're going to try and hold on to the glory days as much as they can, especially since, they're brothers from down south in the state just won the cup. Yeah. Might cause their downfall. So we'll see how that goes. But hey, Tampa was fun while it lasted. Toronto, what you think, man? Re-sign Liljegren, Yanni Hakanpää, Chris Tanev, so that's 3 defensemen. 4 in Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Re-signed Joseph Woll, signed Anthony Stolarz, and Philippe Myers as well.
Definitely. Definitely some interesting signings that I'm used to from Brad Treliving for sure. As a former Flame, that GM has not changed his ways a slight bit. So we look at the first thing that instantly bugged me when I looked at what Toronto did in the offseason in the first 4 days of free agency is you gave Chris Tanev 6 years at $4.5 million. Is he worth $4.5 million? 100%. That guy is a warrior and will shoot his get his face shot off for him. 6 years? He's going to be 40 by the time that shit's over.
And listen, we love Tanev. Like, the dude's a warrior. And, like, not many hockey players are like that anymore, but that's some tenure, man. That's some term.
Especially with the injury report he has. Holy crap, man.
Toronto, I agree that they need to update defense. I don't know if I think it's an update more than an upgrade.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
Larson. Oof.
You know what they're missing? They're just missing, like, players that play top two roles. Like, they don't have, like, Morgan Rielly is getting older, and they don't have an Evan Bouchard. They don't have an Ekholm. They don't have a Quinn Hughes.
No.
They don't have a Mackenzie Weegar. They don't have a Henry. Like, naming this is like a prime reason why Toronto cannot get past that hump.
I think Oliver Ekman-Larsson was a bit of a stretch because 3.5 for 4 years, you could definitely tell him winning a Stanley Cup up to his salary for sure. But realistically, if Toronto really wanted that kind of top two defenseman, you really could just trade Mitch Marner and get one really easily. But I don't like the idea that Toronto is actually committing to extending him, because I think most of their fan base would look at you and be like, what more proof do you need that this won't work with the core four? This just obviously won't. You need a defenseman beside Rielly to actually start something behind. You can't just do it all forward-wise. And this is a conversation I feel like every Leafs fan's been through, and I feel like we now have to say it just so Toronto can not do that anymore. It doesn't work.
That's 4 defensemen signed in free agency. 4 out of a potential 6 spots, right? Jake McCabe probably takes a spot there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's depth, more or less, but I think you're just missing that factor. Like, if only you could have some of that money and pay it for some top 2 guys in defense. Like Brett Pesce on Toronto. If we're talking about this plus a Brett Pesce, different story.
Different story.
Different
You know
story.
what? Even I wouldn't even be mad if they added that Brandon Montour kind of guy. Like, yeah,
that's why I see it. But Soros is a good pickup for your 1B. Utah, holy moly. Poor Arizona fans. I feel bad for you. All this cap space, probably could have splurged, but Utah's going to splurge because they need fans in the building. Sean Durzi, Yusuf Elamaki, Ian Cole, Kevin Stenlin, John Marino, Mikhail Sergachev.
Goodness. You definitely bulked up the defense core for your forwards, there, Utah. Wow.
Defense too, though, man. I mean, like, yeah, Sergachev's injury prone, but hold on, let's get that Utah going here.
But if Sergachev can be healthy, he's a great defenseman to start a team with. There's a chance Utah can make playoffs.
What do you think? Do they do? It's possible.
You know what? It's possible, but I want to keep that. I need to see more. I need to see more happens in the offseason.
It's pretty much the same team from last year, and they didn't really go for it. But I think that extra energy.
I would say at the beginning, Arizona was in a playoff spot, but then 30 games later, they got kicked out.
What helps is some extra energy from the fan base in Utah. They're gonna want to win it for him. They're gonna want to play for him. So it's possible. Yeah, Vancouver re-signed Teddy Bluger, Dakota Joshua, Tyler Myers, and then new additions: Vincent Desharnais, Kiefer Sherwood, Danton Heinen, Jake DeBrusk.
For 7 years,
is it a lot? First, I was thinking it's a lot
for 7 years.
At first, I was thinking it's a lot, but what he provides. That is market value.
But
the re-signed Joshua.
His Jacob DeBrusk's concerning part is he had a career high of 50 points 2 seasons ago. So he's about a 40 to 50 point player right now.
You know what? He never had a chance to play a big role with Boston, or a bigger role. Does he play a bigger one? Maybe lining up with Pettersson. Does that help?
Maybe.
Vancouver, are they winners? It's tough to say.
I would say Vancouver is neutral to almost winner. I mean, you could really push them the winner if you want, depending on how you feel on Jake DeBrusk. But you realistically are still a playoff team. You are re-signed the right players that you need to go through that deep playoff run with. Now just need a healthy Demko. And that's
Yeah.
literally, you could have potentially passed Edmonton if it was the right goaltender. And I don't think Arthur played bad at all either. So, free agency so far, I'm going to say Vancouver's neutral. I can't see him as a winner or a loser.
No, that's fair enough. I still think that they can make some sort of a splash in the playoffs, so I'm excited
Yeah.
to see what happens. But hey, good for Vancouver to be consistently consistent again. So that's awesome. Vegas. Okay, so notables for them: Zach Aston Reese, Ilya Samsonov, Pavel Dorofeyev, Victor Olofsson, Akira Schmid in that New Jersey trade. Same with Alexander Holtz. I like how all these players Vegas can get when it's like the same value for another team. They don't get the same value back. But he lost a lot. They were losers for that. But I do like the Dorofeyev re-signing. Holtz on Vegas, not too shabby. Let me look at their line combos to get more of an opinion on this here.
I mean,
so
they
right
look
now-
like the same. They look like the same team that won a Stanley Cup the other year, but no Logan Thompson. They did trade Logan Thompson, so I definitely was kind of
That's
shocked
right.
to see that. I don't think it looks compatible to the team that won a cup the other season ago. But you know what? I think the biggest heartbreak for Vegas was the loss of Jonathan Marchessault, Stephenson, I think too, and it just kind of got ugly a little bit when you were losing players. But at the same time, being a cup winner, just like Florida knows now, you needed to lose those players because there's bigger key pieces. I think honestly they maybe could have kept Marchessault, but there wasn't. They couldn't do anything about it. They realistically.
they're still a highly competitive team and they'll make playoffs. Washington.
Two more teams.
I think they're a winner. I think a decent deal in signing Taylor Raddysh. I'm surprised Chicago wouldn't want to keep him because there's some upside young potential there. Work out with Chicago. Brian and Duhaime, a good. Also, Connor McMichael at a good deal too. Matt Roy, that's a good signing. A trade to get Jacob Chikrin, so the deal looks a little better. Logan Thompson for your goalie. They lose Kemper, of course. Trade with Calgary to get Andrew Mangiapane. And the greatest player of all time, Pierre-Luc Dubois. Washington retooling on the fly here. Team looks much more competitive than last season. Now, I don't know what happens, but best case scenario, every player comes back to form. Wow, that'd be something. Let's look at their lineup right now. Right now, you'd have a Dylan Strome, Ovechkin, Wilson lineup. Then a Mangiapane, PLD, Connor McMichael. Poor McMichael, he doesn't deserve that. Third line, and Lapierre, Taylor Raddysh, and Sonny Milano. Brandon Duhaime, Nick Dowd, Alexi Protas. Sorry, not Matthew Protas. Defensive pairing in Jacob Chikrin, John Carlson, Matt Roy, Rasmus Sandin, Martin Fehervary, and Trevor Van Riemsdyk. Goaltending tandem of Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren. Which, cool enough, Logan Thompson and Lindgren are both... is it considered lefty because the lefty gloves? So very rare to have a tandem of lefty gloves for both goalies. So that's something to think about. Retool on the fly.
Retool on the fly. Yeah. I definitely think retooling on the fly like this just tells that they're really just pushing for Ovi to have a really good season again. It definitely bulks up the top six now when you really look at that. Same with adding Mangiapane there. He used to be a 30 goal scorer, so maybe a change of environment can maybe bring him back to that. Adding Logan Thompson is definitely a nice backup or starter AB situation, I would assume there. You're right on Matt Roy. I think that was a great addition defensive wise for them. Yeah, it just looks like, on the fly, literally, and adding Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yeah, fair enough. Last one, Winnipeg. Man, what a iron odd spot, aren't they?
They haven't even done anything.
Capital Kakinen. So they got a goalie back up there for Mr. Connor Hellebuck. Colin Miller. Eric Comrie, so they got 3 goalies in the system. Jarrett Anderson-Dolan, a signing. Hayden Fleury and Andrew Shaw. Winnipeg, man, I'm a little worried for them because of what happened in the playoffs. They got 5 games, and I don't know where they're at.
There was so much expectation for them in that playoffs too, because how the team was performing, and Hellebuck, he won the Vezina for that performance, but then got bombshelled in the first round by Colorado. So
Yeah.
that's definitely a tricky situation for Winnipeg to kind of deal with, because you saw even the coach leave, and now everyone's kind of like, well, that's another first round exit. Our coach just left us, and they still have to sign Cole Perfett too, and it's ugly.
Yeah.
It's a little bit ugly right now in Winnipeg.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been free agency talk. Before anything, moment of silence for Cap Friendly. Thank you very much. That's been it. Let us know what you guys think about the signings and stuff. Who won, who lost. How do you feel about your team now? I know we're all overreacting because it's been 2 weeks since the finals, and I mean hockey doesn't start for another couple months.
Yeah.
Guys, go enjoy summer. Stop talking about it. I'm talking to me more or less than you, but we'll also talk about it.
Of course.
Talk coming soon, so be on the lookout for that. B-Dog, I'll let you take the reins here.
Well, thanks, guys, for watching the episode. If you did like it, leave a like, leave a comment, and please subscribe. We are almost at 400 subs on YouTube, and we're growing really well on TikTok as well. So please keep liking, keep subscribing. We appreciate it, and share with your friends if you want, if you like this content and think it's for them too. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. But please, enjoy your summer. Stop stressing about hockey. Peace.
Obi Line duo needs to happen. Let's get it.
Yeah.